Hi guys. It is Miss Polly. Um today is today's a good day, Tuesday. Great day for discussions. I definitely wanted to get back to a few things. I was gonna do a recording of today, but I did not. One of the reasons is one of my um, I don't know. It was one of the people that I talked to online kind of reached out to me, which happens a lot. Kind of reached out to me regarding polyandry. There's a lot of people in the poly community also that have questions or who are poly and they want to know more about particular dynamics. And we want to deep dive into polyandry, of course, because there's a lot of misconceptions about polyandry. A lot of people are more aware about polygamy than polyandry. I am in a polyandry group online on Facebook. So there are sometimes, people have questions in there and they ask different things and they want to get more clarification on things. And they may be dating in a polyandry situation and not know enough. So I also reach out to them when they ask questions, things like that. And so someone did reach out to me and asked to go a little bit deeper into polyandry, which I don't have a problem with doing because he was in a situation and he wasn't sure about some things. So we want to kind of clear that up. So I definitely want to reach out to those people who are confused. So if you guys don't know, let's just start off with just clear cut polyandry. A lot of people hear polygamy, they hear polyamorous, and that is all they think there is. So polyandry is the opposite of polygamy. It's with a man, two or more men date a woman. Now you want to, I want to tell you right now, when it comes to words, Andrew initiates the marriage, so it means you're married to. We say polyandry a lot, but it, it's not necessarily the exact word. So please don't get offended if you are someone who's polyandry and you don't like that I'm using the word. Basically, this is just kind of giving a general statement and then maybe using some of those terms that most people aren't used to hearing. So if you're polyandry, you're a woman with more than one male partner, and uh, it can look really, really different. So that's the basis. If you are in a polyandry situation, a lot of times I've only seen it in groups now that men seek out polyandry women. Uh, I have seen it. There are groups for it. They exist. So there are men who actually seek out women who want to be with more than one man. There's a YouTube channel that I was into watching, but I don't know what happened. It kind of fell off, but that happens sometimes. There was two men who were looking for a polyandry woman, and they were talking about what they were looking in a woman, and so they were kind of giving out what they were looking for, and they were two males. They were black. That made it very interesting. And then on top of that, they were bisexual. Later on, I figured it out, but I couldn't tell at first. They both had interest in possibly just being with a woman and then being with each other and possibly just being into a closed relationship. So let's go ahead and hit some of that vocabulary up for people who don't know. Closed relationship. Closed is when there is a relationship that you decide not to include anyone else. Hey, soapbox, sorry, I just put on my comments. Okay, so yes, thank you for looking out for me for that one. Like I said, I may get used to the live and touching everything here, but yeah, when it comes to someone who is going to be polyandry, there's two males. A lot of times they can be bisexual. That particular situation was they wanted a closed situation. If you hear someone say closed, it means that they don't want to accept any new partners. They have decided to settle down, and this is their pod, and they don't want anyone else, which is pretty okay. Usually you'll see tripods do that. A tripod is with three people, whatever form that looks like. It just means basically there's going to be three of them. They're closed off. They don't have any other partners. That is something that happens. So they were looking for that. I don't think they actually found anyone. They did go on dates. I did see them do a couple things. I thought it was interesting to watch. But most of the time, I see people who are polyandry and they are not um, heterosexual. They're bisexual. That's what I see most of the time. And there are women who look for bisexual males. So this makes so much sense. This makes so much sense. And some people think it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense because there are a lot of women who are in certain areas who will find polyandry men who are interested in polyandry and they look for men who are bisexual. So that happens. Me myself, I don't necessarily say I don't want a partner who's bisexual, but that's not something I'm seeking. And then most of the times, because I do date heterosexual, it is a situation where my other partner wouldn't feel comfortable with that situation. So for me, that is not what happened. So we're gonna go with if you describe myself, even within my community of poly, I am very unique still. Um, Not only am I black, heterosexual, female with two male partners who are black, who are also heterosexual, uh, who are transitional partners. That means they were not poly prior to meeting me. And I will say that just because you're with a partner who is poly does not mean you are automatically poly. You're in a relationship with someone who else is poly because you can still be in a monogamous, well, I guess wouldn't call it monogamous, but you yourself would have that monogamous uh, mind frame where you're just with that partner. And if they have other partners, that's okay. It's just that you are dedicated to just that one partner. So you don't really seek out any other relationships. So I have one partner who's like that. Um, and that's just what it is. So yes, I am a little bit of a unicorn when it comes to that. And then the other partner, I don't think that he seeks a long-term partnership with anyone. But I will not speak for him, but that doesn't, that's not something he's ever brought up that he is seeking. So, unless something change or something, that's not at this time what it is. So for me, I still am a unicorn. Even within polyandry, I am still a little different. So it is, you know, it's kind of strange, I guess. But when it comes to being with my partners, uh, it was very separate at first, very, very separate. And that was okay because obviously, like I said, they're new transitional partners into something they've never been in with anyone before. And they were trying to see how that would work. So basically, yeah, I was with them too. And it was separate relationships. And I was with one a little bit longer than the other one, about 6 months longer. And so they were at different places in poly also, or dating a poly person. So when they're doing that, we're dating, getting to know each other, things like that. That's all transitional, and that looks different. For the question wise, because we're diving deep here, I was asked, is it a problem for one of your partners to be bisexual and the other one heterosexual? I don't think there really is a partner. It kind of is like whatever fits your dynamic. There are people who I don't believe that they're in a poly relationship with the mindset that it's exactly what they want it to be. And I know that sounds weird because a lot of times when you hit into polyandry, you start getting into a lot of submissive behavior when it comes to males. Now, I don't believe everyone is submissive to, who's not submissive, because let me clear that up again. So there's a lot of males who deem themselves submissive. They will say they are submissive and they like to please a woman and be submissive to a woman. There are a lot in polyandry. I'm not as their goal to please that woman. They call themselves submissive, and that's their goal. But even in that, you still, want to be looked at as a person, and you still want your needs to be met. And if you're a person who thinks, okay, like I don't really like me to be sexual with other males because I'm heterosexual, I think that the person who's with you should respect that and be okay with that, which then will open up the gate. It will open up the gate that if your partner has another male partner who is bisexual, that they may have another partner that they seek out who is bisexual also. And yes, could it come into a situation where they don't want to be with you because you're not bisexual and they found another one? It could happen. But if your relationship is really based on what it should be based on, which is not um, sexual interaction, then it really wouldn't matter. If that person really wants to be with you, they enjoy your time, they like what you can offer them, mentally, physically, all those things, that relationship should not change just because you're not sexually into some sexual things they like to do. Now, will you have to be more open to them having that other person? Yes, you probably won't be a close relationship anymore if that's what you wanted to do. So you got to kind of find, that middle for you guys. If that's not something you're looking for, then I absolutely don't think you should be in it, because you're going to be in situations where you're going to feel uncomfortable. I like I've said, I have seen positive note. I have seen a quad before, and what the quad was two partners, male, female, male, female. One of the partners of the females, like I said, male, female, it's like four, so it's two guys, two ladies. One of the males said he was bisexual, so he wanted to seek out other male partners, and they weren't closed, but they were a quad. That means their base relationship was with the four of them. They lived together and all that. So, but that male was bisexual. The heterosexual male still interacted in sexual acts as a quad. He still interacted in three ways. And he didn't really have too much an issue as long as the boundary was that he wasn't being sexually interactive with the other male, and he was fine, and the other guy just respected that boundary and was fine. They didn't have any issue. They didn't have an issue at all. And then when he wanted to seek out someone else, he would do that. It just wasn't an issue. So I have seen it happen. I've seen it work. But like I said, that other heterosexual man has to be very, very sound in who they are, very sound in what they, themselves as a person. Not and not have any jealousy when it comes to, um, know what they're doing for their other partners. It just, you really have to have a lot of security in yourself. I believe. So I've seen it work like that, and people just respect each other, and it's really not an issue. I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, that can't work. That can't work." But I think the issue is that a lot of people don't want to respect each other's boundaries, and a lot of people won't. If they're not going to accept your boundaries and respect your boundaries, oh well, yeah, that's never going to work. You're right, because if you're a bisexual male and we're in a situation where we're with our girlfriend, and you start trying to caress me, you're violating my, my me as a person. So basically, you're violating my boundaries. So yeah, that can't happen. You have to have restraint, or just be aware of other people. So when you talk about being in any poly situation, I think really a lot of people think, oh, it's so easy, you're free and free. I'll be honest, I think this has more restriction than any other kind of dynamics out there, especially monogamous, because it's just a lot more restrictive. And I won't say like it's not a bad restrictive, it's just a respecting people's boundaries. I think it's a lot more healthier behavior, um, that is requested. Please respect my boundaries and not violate them. That's basically what it is. And we can have those discussions. So I do think it's a lot healthier of the communication, the boundary making, all those things that most relationships they don't come into saying. Most people just get, oh, I like you, you like me, and then we just have a relationship. There's no like, okay, this is what I don't like, especially if you're younger. And then the older you get, you kind of start building up these, I don't want this, I know what I want, I don't want. But they're still not actually boundaries, they're just requests from your partner. So a lot of times these boundaries we have to talk about why you're setting these boundaries. Are these boundaries short term? Are these boundaries for long extended times? So once you get all that kind of down, which sounds like work, but relationships really should be work, in my opinion. I don't mean it shouldn't be fun and enjoy each other. I'm saying any relationship, long-term relationship, should be a work in progress. A work in progress. You should always be working. Even love story you see, let's just give an example, The Notebook. I mean, they were deeply in love with each other, but did they have to work for that situation? Absolutely. Did they leave each other? Did they argue about stuff? Absolutely. And they came back together. So relationships aren't something that just, oh, we're together and everything's so wonderful and stars. There are bad times, there are good times. We are people, we go through changes, all kinds of things. So deep dive back into polyandry. So that was one of the questions. Another question was, is it okay to not live with your partners? I'll be honest, when you don't live with your partners and you guys are separate in lives, it can be okay, like very, very liberating if you're still an open relationship. So what I mean by open, like I said again, if you're not a closed polypod, and you have other people who come over, there's no violation of anyone's boundaries or space. And even when you have partners who are pods that are open and they have people come and things like that, there usually is a set of rules. There's usually a set of rules like, when I have people come over, if I want to do something with them, we will go into this room. If we do something sexual, we'll make sure we change these sheets. Think like this. Just, I mean, I know it sounds like common sense, but these are things that we would set up as as boundaries, as respectful things that we would do to ensure that that space isn't violated. If you live with your partners, if you don't live with your partners, you really just, it's your space, and then you don't have to worry about too much more. I'm sorry, I got my little baby here. So you don't have to worry about that space. You don't have to worry about sharing all that, anything like that. A lot of stuff is just yours. Sir, can you stop? Can you stop? Get down, and then going back to what you're doing. So I definitely will say it can be a really positive situation if you're not living with your partners. But if you do live with your partners, like I said, it's just more of a boundary thing. It doesn't too much phase me. Like I said, it's just about communication and how that will look. I will say, communicating things that may occur prior to them happening is the best thing to do. And I will say, yeah, we have to learn by example. Someone said, "Oh, well, what if they didn't know it would bother them until it happened?" I understand that, but then there should be a conversation where, "Hey, will that bother you if I, brought someone over and they stayed till 8, 9?" And you're like, "Well, I don't know if that would bother me." Okay, well, how about this? On Thursday, I would like to try that out. And if it bothers you, that way you can prep the person who's coming and the person who's there. So you can do that. And they're like, "Oh, that's stupid." It's not, because you prep your children before people come to your house. You take them to grandma's or whatever. You do these things already. And like I said, most of my videos are kind of tailored to people who aren't poly, but people who are poly, they know that this isn't really something extra we're asking, and respecting of others. So these aren't things that are really an issue for us if you're in that natural mind of being poly. So we definitely will do that. What, anything else? Polyandry, that question was asked. And then polyandry was saying, like, if you're not bisexual, can you make this bonding with another person who you're not attracted to sexually? Absolutely. When it first started off, polyandry was not something that was done with men who weren't related. They are actually related. Any tribes you see that are polyandry, which is like, I think it's 3%, 2%, 3% of the world practices it. They are they marry relatives. It's usually brothers, and that's where the words brother husband comes from. And then also on the other hand, other spectrum, polygamy, same thing. They would marry sisters. That's what sister wives, brother husband comes from. So you have these terms because they think the bond between family members is a lot stronger than a bond with someone you don't know, who comes from a whole different situation, who didn't go through things with you. You have a bond with the people that you do things with. That's why when you see sports, they have camaraderie. They make them do things together. They're with each other all the time. And even if you don't like someone, if he's your teammate and someone does something to them, you're on defense because this is your brothers. These are the people you're with, and you become protective of your family. So when it comes to that bond, there's not a lot of bonds that are made that way. So most of the time, polyandry, you'll see that they're actually related. That doesn't happen in our modern America world. So that bond is hard to find when you're heterosexual. So you have to, I will say my example of how it kind of works for myself. I went back to just the core values that I really valued, and I found those in the people I'm with. So the things that I know at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, not exactly how they react, not exactly how they feel, but when it comes to core values that mean a lot to us, we are all on the same page. When it comes to the care of our children, we are, if not on the same page, we agree the same thing. If we say, hey, if this happened, what will we do? We probably would do about the same thing. We are different, but when it comes to those core value things, we are very, very similar. We're both all hard workers. We all want to strive to do good. Um, we aren't like we're not really surprised by someone asking something. We all have the core values that we deem important that are the same. So when we have those things that are the same, I think that would really change when I found men who can get along. When I had the core values the same, that is what changed everything for me. Because then if I found someone else that I liked and they didn't really hit those values we're at, then I see that, okay, you can get along with me, but like when you hang out with my partners, y'all may, you're not gonna, they're gonna have that. I can't believe you said that. That's crazy. Like I wouldn't do that, and when it's that different, it can be a mesh up. You know what I'm saying? So my partners are very, very similar. Now they're in different places in their life, absolutely. There is a good age, but not like a giant age between them, but there's a good, couple years in between them. So there is age difference. Different things in their life have happened. Some have done things that haven't got there yet. And since the age is different, we're at different places, but the core value is the same. And I think that made a big difference in who I dated and how they got along together, a lot better. And so that made a lot of difference when it came to that. So definitely that. When you're looking for male partners, now I will say I've seen a lot of interracial relationships when it comes to polyandry. Usually not the same race, but it doesn't say it doesn't exist. But I've seen a lot of interracial polys. That's interesting. I've seen or polyandries. Yeah, it's just polyandry is just one of those things that, like I said, it kind of turns into something else. If you go in now, anything you get into poly relationships, all that stuff, get some information about it prior to. You may hear bad information, you may hear good information, you may hear false information. So get your sources right. And then research those things you're into, so if that's what you really want to do. Polyandry, of all the kinds of poly, you're going to be looked at the most because it's very uncommon to see, or rare to see us. You don't see that everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Hey there. And if you don't see people who are polyandry, it's confusing. So usually people, when they meet me, they think automatically I say I'm poly. They automatically think I'm in a polygamy relationship or I'm just polyamorous. And then when they find out not, it's like confusing to them a little bit. So like I said, you're gonna have to take that how it stands. Let me make sure this, because like I said, this was a kind of requested video that a gentleman asked me about. So he asked me another question. Let me just go check and make sure I answered all his questions, because I want to make sure he got all the information that he needed. Um, and his thing was he wanted to bond with. Now he was asking how many males. That was the other thing. He said, how many males would you think that were, you know, a positive thing? And I was telling him, yeah, listen, being in a polyandry situation and you talk about how many partners, oh, yes, it depends on your pod. It depends on how long you know them. It depends on where they are. Like I said, there's so many different things that will come into that. But I will say, you need to know how many partners you can handle. And that means mentally, physically, all those great things. Uh, I can handle a lot more than most people, point blank. I'll just be honest. Uh, but there are a lot of people who say 3 are really good. Some people say 2 and they want to close. And those are good numbers. So, you can't really do much for that. There's people who want to be in it's called probably gonna say it wrong, like polycule. Basically, it's like a family, right? It's a family of poly people. Basically, there might be 6 of them, 5 of them, and they only interact with each other. Go tell. So they only interact with each other. Go tell Esmond. Go. And so they only interact with each other, don't interact with anybody else. And so I mean sexually, physically, although I mean sexually, mentally, only mess with each other. They don't really go outside that. And that is a like a close family. And they don't add anyone else. So there may be, like I said, six of them, you know, three of the women, they can all have sex with all the men. It doesn't matter. It's just whatever. Like that's how they do it. So there are things like that. We call it tribal too. That's another way to say they have a tribe. Um, and those are interesting. But when it comes to polyandry, I will say when it comes to men think like, okay, so how many have I done? Let's just see. Um, I have talked to about three, been with five at the same time. And I don't mean being with them all sexually, because I know as first thing people say, "Oh my God, no, no." There are relationships I've had that were non-sexual, um, long distance, just more intellectual. And they say, "Well, that's your friend." Yeah, it's my friend. I think, but the thing is, like like they say, if you're monogamous, have you said anything sexual to your friend? Yeah. Have you thought sexual about your friend? Yeah. That means you're being sexual, right? That's more than friendship. If that is the case, then I would have to say yes. Did I talk to them every day? Yes. It is my intent to be with them all at some point. Yes. So no, that was not someone I was just being friends with. So I will have to say that. But was I sexual with them? No. Did I my intent to be sexual with them? Possibly. It wasn't all the way made up. I mean, was I against it? No. So I wasn't against it. So I will say yes. Um, and then five, I was dating. But I've never been sexual with three partners uh at the same time, more than three partners at the same time. Like what I mean, not in the same moment. I'm saying as actually being with people. And then I long term relationships. So I'm not someone who's just running around. I think that's a misconception that the women who are into polyandry are very promiscuous. That is not true. Now, being poly in general, will I have more partners because of that? Is possibly. It's very, very possible. But I'll be honest, is I've had more. I have gained like a third of my body count or whatever from being poly, but that's just because, like I said, I was dating more than one person. But my body count's rather low. So this is where you would have to say, okay, was there something else going on? So I know the body count's real stressful for some people, depending on where you are in your life and how you think, and I get it, but it doesn't mean you're promiscuous. There are people who have been polyandry and they've been with someone since they were like 18. There's a couple examples, one was they were 18. They have two husbands, they're brothers, and not only brothers, they're twins, and she has been with both of them, and she's been with them for like 6 years, and so her body count is two. Like, you see what I'm saying? So it doesn't mean that. So we want to not put that on people to say that their body count's high because they're polyandry or they're polygamous. Because, like I said, if you really think about that, especially if males, because we're talking about polyandry now. If you're a male talking to someone like myself, saying, if I went and said, "Oh yeah, I just go on dates and let everyone who I go on a date with maybe smash within 3 days," you would be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't deal with that." That would be how someone would look. So these are things that you would have to take into consideration if you decide to be polyandry. You're not, especially with people who are monogamous, who are transitioning from heterosexual, they're not going to be okay with you out here in the streets. I personally want my partners to feel safe about me going out. I want them to feel proud of me when they go out. Like, yeah, I know she goes out. She has a good time. I hope she was nice to you and all that stuff. But I know she's not going to be out here, sitting on your lap right when she meets you, making out with you, and she don't know your last name. Like, that's not the perception that I give when I go out. What I'm saying? So I'm held at a different standard than most ladies when you date. I can't go out there like that. I just be honest. It's just not realistic for me to expect that my heterosexual male partners are going to be like, "Hey, yeah, go out there. Do you, boo?" Like, that's not going to work. But I have dated someone who was poly, and it was a totally different experience. totally, we'll get that's another video. The transition of realizing when you're dating someone who's poly compared to who you're dating someone who is not. Most poly people stay with poly people. That's why you haven't heard about it too much. But when you date someone's poly, whole another experience. They are happy you're on a date. They're positive. They're like, I hope you had a good time. Was it great? Did they hold your hand? Like, were they nice to you? It's a whole nother situation. You were the heterosexual male. They're just like, oh, you went out. Okay. It's kind of like there's not a lot of information or transition that takes place in those conversations. So it's totally different. It's totally different. And then you're like, okay, so like, you want to know what happened. It's more like, okay, so how much do you want to know? Because even though you think that you holding that man's hand wasn't a big deal, your partner might think it's a big deal if they're transitioning. So you have to say, okay, well, hey, like, it's a different mindset. It's a different process that males go through when you're dating, and so you have to take that in consideration. So these are things you take in consideration once you are a person who has decided to be polyandry. You just got to. There's not really a in between. So if you're polyandry, you're thinking about being polyandry, I will suggest to you to get some sensitivity training from somebody, because yeah, you think men are gruff and all that and they can take it. That's not the case. These are people, they have feelings. And you can't go in there thinking that, oh, but if I was a guy and I went out and I let them hit the first night, it shouldn't matter. And you're with men who've been heterosexual in monogamous relationships for years and years and years, and now they're transitioning to be with you, and all of a sudden they're just not going to be jealous. That's unrealistic. And to not be sensitive to the fact that that could be something that bothers them, that's unrealistic. And you will crash and burn. You'll have a horrible experience and you'll be mad and you'll be like, I hate poly stuff. And the real thing is that you're not sensitive to the fact that someone else that you're dating, that you chose to date, had boundaries that you kept violating and you didn't care. There's a whole different situation there. Hey, that bothers me. Even if their answer is, I don't like that, I don't, it makes me feel uncomfortable to know that you go out and, after 3 days you let someone like kiss you. Like, that kind of bothers me. I don't like that. And you're like, well, why does it bother you, right? And then they say, well, I feel like they shouldn't be able to just be making out with you and they don't really know you that well. And then I don't know their intent and I care about you and I don't know if they care about you yet. That could be a real conversation. And so you have to then think, okay, that's a trigger for them. And then you have to find out too, your partner may be feeling, well, why are you going on a date with someone else? These are things that get triggered by them. I just be honest. So you may be triggering your partner. Your partner may have been cheated on a lot. Your partner may have had issues with trusting other people. So when you're out here, they're like, I'm trusting them to go out because I said I'd be down with it, but I don't know what they did. Oh my gosh, are they only kissing? Are they lying? Because girls sometimes lie, right? Oh my gosh, like that is what they're going through. And you gotta be sensitive. Get some sensitive training. Be very open and honest about what you're doing. Be very clear. I have some tips. Like I said, I do life coaching about it. If you want to get into polyandry, you guys can hit me up Facebook and all those good things. I'm Miss Poly Right all over. But things like, I remember when I kind of first started heavy dating, I would be like, okay, hey, my phone's going. I would tell, well, my partner really didn't like it. So I would tell him, hey, when I go on the date, I'm going to tell you I'm going to go on the date. And then I'm going to let you know I'm going on the date. There was a lot of communication took place. Now, not for everybody, but this was for him. I made sure that I let him know I was going on the date. This is the time I'm going on a date. If it was an hour, I made sure it was an hour. If it was like I didn't know how long I'd be out, I say I don't know. I will let you know. And my phone would be on. If they contact me during that date, I would answer the phone. I would text back. But if they made my other person that I'm on a date with feel uncomfortable, I would then reassure them, hey, listen, now if I was on a date with you, they're not getting that time, special time with me, and you're taking that from them, and that's something else. So you make boundaries with your dating, make boundaries with your dating prior to, and then kind of go with that. Now, will it stay like that forever? No. It didn't. That was because my partner wasn't used to me dating while we were together, and he had some insecurities about that. And so once I started doing those things, he felt more comfortable, and I was able to not do those things anymore. So it's a transitional thing. You have to be able to walk the walk with your partners who are monogamous minded, and you have to be able to walk that with them so they will know how it is and feel in a place of trust with you. And that's just building trust and things like that. That takes time. So you do that. Like I said, there's some other things you can do, but you kind of go slow pace. You need to know your partner, what they need, and then you can then manage the people in your relationship. And that doesn't matter if you're polyandry or not. I just find if it's polyandry, I think you just have to be a little bit more sensitive to what's going on and be more aware of certain things, so then you know how to combat with that, because they're in a monogamous mind. You have to be aware of that. So if you're transitioning any partners, that that needs to take place. So your partner cap, if I just reiterate that, partner cap, that kind of belongs with you. I'll be honest, as a person who I know I'm probably, I know that my male partners don't, that a large number of males is just stressful for them. So no, I'm not gonna, uh, you know, be sitting down. I will say three is for me is okay. I think that my partners would be okay with three or less, and then that's where we are. Um, and I mean like dating, like full on, we're together, we're in a committed situation, probably three. Now, quad stuff, all that's a whole nother situation. But when it comes to just being all males, yeah, I think that we would be capped at three. That's what I'll say. Um, but yeah, I mean that has come up before. Well, how many? But that's a valid question. That's a valid question. I'm glad I was asked. So I mean, it is what it is. But those are some of the things that take place. Based on your polyandry, like I said, that camaraderie that happens with males. I believe that these things don't happen after a certain age. So male bonding isn't something males are used to. So if you're asking your partners to bond with other males, finding that core values that you guys all agree on across the board, are finding things that they kind of like with each other, that's just gonna make it easier to blend. It just is. There's no other way around that. If you get too many or totally opposite from each other, you're gonna have an issue with your partners, because one will be on the other side of something else. And I'm not talking about opinion wise. I'm talking about if the hardcore values that y'all all agree on the most are not on the same page, your relationship will suffer. It just doesn't work well. But there are some people who don't want to be close. Some people who want to be close with each other and they want separate relationships. So that can work too, but it has to be very separate. It has to be lots of boundaries that you set and that they don't overlap. It can work. It's different. And at some point, if you want to blend, someone's gonna have to come all the way from one side to the other. So those are basic things. Now, like I said, I just want to hit that base with you guys. These are the basic things of polyandry. A little bit misconception that everyone has to be bisexual. They don't. And that it's a little bit odd to see those things. But if you guys look up some people, like I said, you can find them out here. If you have any more questions, you guys can leave a little thing below so you can see it. Just wrapping up now, guys. Thanks for viewing. I hope that this helps you on your polyandry journey. Answer some of your questions for you, the basis. And if you guys have any more questions, I'll make some more videos about polyandry. It seems to be popular. Honestly, people like to watch it, but I don't know if people like to do it. But this new generation of females do like to be with more than one male. And I'll be honest, the healthier, safer way to do it would be to try to be in a polyandry relationship, not hide things and have a boo on the side or three boos, because everyone knows men have testosterone. They feel very in competition with each other most of the time. And even if one is not that competitive and one's more submissive than the other, you're still causing for the one who's not to then gain or claim territory over you. So you yourself have to be more aware of what's going around you with other people than yourself. to be in that, if that makes sense. So you do, if you're going to be a younger person getting into polyandry, because like I said, I see a lot of women interested in it, they just don't want to say it, which is rather confusing. But it is rather confusing. I know I'm saying it as a joke, but I mean, I have seen things that don't make sense to me, and I really confuse. I'll just give an example before we wrap this up. Like I've seen women full out talk to my partners and be like, "I like you, I want to talk to you," and then they'll say, "Well, I have another partner," and they'll say, "Oh, okay, but does she know?" And if they'll be like down to do everything, though, one of my partners wears a wedding ring. They don't care. They'll talk to them all day, flirt with them all day, send them all kinds of videos and all kinds of stuff. The other one, same thing, all day long. Talk to him all day. As soon as he says, "I'm poly," we're poly. He can say he has a girlfriend. They don't care. They say, "Oh, we're poly." They'll know about you and we're cool and everything like that. They don't want no partner. "Oh, I can't share you." What is cheating? If you're talking to one dude and you're going to somebody else's house later, you're sharing. They're just sharing you. Are you confused? I don't know. It's the most confused. I don't know. You can't do poly, but you can cheat on people. Make that make sense. So you rather be dishonest and not loyal than be honest and upfront and be loyal to what you say. I'm only going to talk to you, or you know, be true to your word. You rather take someone's husband. You rather lay down with a woman. Oh well, that ain't my man. But she doesn't know. I don't care. Okay, that's weird. But if she knows and she's okay, and she doesn't come violate your space, she doesn't want to watch you. She just say, "Hey, okay, you're gonna go hang out with her today. Okay, that's cool. Hope you have a good time." Oh no, that's weird because you're sharing. Uh, that's strange. Okay, so or a man even say like, "Oh, just don't let me catch you with that guy." Y'all don't think that's weird? That's weird. Oh, you could. I know you're cheating on me. I know you see that other guy, but don't let me catch you seeing him. How about we just discuss some boundaries and you just know I'm going to his house? And if you see us outside, you just choose to say hi or not. I don't know. But to me that makes sense. Hey Jack, that makes sense. That makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. These people are here a little strange to me, in my perception of things. So yeah, I just want to wrap it up now. I just wanted to share that information with my dear friend who asked me some questions earlier today. Hopefully, this video finds him well, and if he has any more questions, we'll do some more videos, and he can go from there. But he can always come back to this if he has more questions, and we'll be good. We'll be good. So yes, I'll let you guys go. You guys have a great afternoon, and I'll see you again.